Good evening, YouTube. HeirofCarthage here, and I'm coming to you from the outskirts of Altdorf, and there is a rather large civil war brewing. Yes, they summoned the elector counts. Apparently, there's a little dispute in the way that the election ended, because all the different Empire factions are now going to have a recount with guns. So, welcome to the battle. This is a 3v3, and I'm trying out a game mode here that I'd like to see if it works well. This is just a first try. We'll see how it goes here. There will be more. And I've got, like I said, 3v3. This is a pike and shot, kind of like a Napoleon Total War version of Warhammer. So here's the rules. No magic, which means no wizards. No monsters, so no griffins, no demigriff knights, no steam tanks, no luminarchs. We even threw out the Sunmaker, because it'd be pretty crazy. And no Knights of the Blazing Sun. Yes, flaming swords, probably not a thing you're going to find in a pike and shot army, because that's the objective here, is we're turning this into a game about pike and shot. So infantry-wise, you can only bring spears and halberds, and then for missiles, guns. No crossbows, guns. Otherwise, you can bring cannons, mortars, and rocket batteries. So this is going to be a huge, nearly 6,000 troop battle. So 6,000 troop pike and shot battle, and really the factors that you have to work with here are range, melee, and speed with cavalry. So what is the balance that people strike? You had to use a general of the Empire, and the only heroes allowed were Empire captains. So again, it makes this just kind of a good old-fashioned slug out. So I'm playing right here in the center. I've got pretty much all guns. I do have a few Empire Knights. My teammate next to me, again, a whole lot of guns, and then even more guns over in the woods, so he's got really no melee. My teammate to the left has quite a bit of melee, and then I've put a whole bunch of free company militia out here on the flank to just try and help hold up this flank. Now, our opponents across the field here have quite a bit of melee mixed in with guns. They're actually a lot more well-balanced builds. So they're going to rush forward and try and get in range, because at the moment at least we have an artillery advantage. However, when my teammates' pistoliers push forward here, they find something hiding in the woods, which is gravely concerning. It is a huge Rohirrim of Reichsguard and Empire Knights all amassing on our right-hand flank, and we will watch that with great interest. So as the battle progresses, at least for the time being, like I said, my team having a fairly easy time at the skirmishing thus far. This map, and one thing to be aware of when you're doing this whole pike and shot thing, is that there are a lot of little nuances in some of the maps, like little terrain, and it can make a big difference in the angles that you have. And I picked a lot of free company militia for this flank because I figured it would be a nice balance of melee and ranged, potentially being a little bit decent at both. So you can see that as the enemy pushes forward, my team is gaining kind of, right? The numbers are actually still relatively close, though we have certainly done a decent number of kills, but at this point our opponent's mass cavalry became visible, and we realized that we have some big problems. And so these gunners in the woods are really our only line of defense between a giant wall of metal and utter doom. And you can imagine what these horsemen bring with them, much like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So they come charging in, and yes, handguns, they don't exactly make a good line to stop heavy cavalry. So this flank over here is in some pretty severe doo-doo. And some of the cavalry from the other side here is going to break off, swing around this side of the little skull rock there, and we're going to have a massive cavalry action going on our flank. Now, I've used my Lord to kind of ball up some infantry units and do more shooting, which has been fairly effective for the moment. My teammate with all the melee, it has been handy for him. And although I'm starting to get a little overwhelmed now, my free company militia did help hold this flank for a while so that my teammate could fight head on. Again, back in the center in the shooting match, not going horribly for us at the moment, but that could all change. So my Empire Knights, I realized that the 3 of them aren't going to last long, so I'm trying to fall back and bring some of the enemy cavalry within range of my guns. It's going to be my only chance to potentially survive this onslaught, but unfortunately that means these Hellblaster volley guns and these other gunners are going to be sacrificed to the likes of our enemies, and they will trample them under hoof and armor. Again, my Empire Knights, I'm just looking only for the engagement whenever I think I can get some missile support or other support. Now, those other cavalrymen moved around that flank, as I said, and you can see them now marauding straight towards my front lines, which don't have any spearmen. So I'll give you an overhead view real quick of what's going on. This is a lot of cavalry on the red side here coming in after us, so a massive cavalry attack here. In fact, one of the players on the other side was Indy Pride, and he said this is like the Charge of the Light Brigade, except this time it's going to work. I think those were his words. If I got it wrong, he can correct me. And oh boy, what a coordination by their team. When we saw this coming, we were terrified. And for good reason. You can see our troops being bowled over. And on this sweet pike and shot battlefield, there are guns blazing everywhere. But right now, the name of this game is the cavalry. And the cavalry is having a time. My Empire Knights have managed to hold off the onslaught, but not all of it. I'm going to see here that Reptile King, another player from the other side, is also pushing his cavalry in. And he is destroying my gun lines. I have nothing to hold it back. So at this point, we are just getting absolutely slaughtered. The only place where our line is holding was here on our left flank. My teammates' more melee-centric army is holding the line, at least temporarily. He had a lot of troops over here, and my Free Company militia put up enough fight that for a while they were able to hold back the enemy. However, with this cavalry action that is absolutely crushing our right flank, we find ourselves in pretty bad shape. I've got literally nothing left. My teammate on my right flank and myself have been completely wrapped up by a decisive and swift cavalry action that really, you know, harkens back to pike and shot quite well, where cavalry was still a devastating force on the battlefield whenever it got into the right scenario. So when it was given room to maneuver and the forces weren't able to be properly braced or armed for it, it was going to be pretty brutal. And this has left the enemy guns much more free to do their thing. I don't know what's going on with the sound right now. We couldn't hear the gunfire there. There we go. I am using a mod that adds a little extra smoke and effects to the guns here. Hopefully you all enjoyed that. It's not quite as good as the smoke effects in Napoleon, but I was doing my best to kind of give it that aura. I'm honestly surprised that army losses hadn't stacked up sooner, and the cavalry horde now finally makes it to our only remaining pocket of resistance, but there are the army losses. So it was a crushing defeat. It says close defeat. We were crushed. We were crushed. It was fun, and it was a fun foray into just looking at a different way to play the game. Now, what's really neat about this pike and shot idea, and it would probably expand it a little bit to where it's not just pikes per se, we're testing it with all Empire, and I'm going to do more of this when I get back. Right now, I'm out on vacation when you all are watching this. We're going to test some more of this, test it on like a 2v2, maybe even a 1v1, get a feel, see whether there's any additional rules that need to be made, and then, I don't know, kind of see if there's kind of like a semi-competitive element to this that kind of harkens back to like an Empire or Napoleon. And kind of see if it's fun, so we can always make little changes to it and tinker with it as we go along. Anyway, thanks to everybody who played. Reptile King, Indy Pride, and Indy Pride has an awesome channel. If you guys haven't seen it, then you're crazy. He's probably, you know, he's got a lot more people watching him right now than I do. Lukey 2, Valdraco, Colt, and then, of course, myself there. So thank you, everybody, for joining in and playing the battle with me. All these folks were hanging out in my Discord. So if you want to join the Discord, it's a great place to be. And that was how we got this game together, and we'll do more stuff like this. And if you enjoyed it, please consider going and subscribing. There are enough people watching this video that aren't subscribed that if you did today, we would blast past that 250,000 subscriber mark. Plus, if you subscribe and click the bell to get notified, there's $20 Steam cards dropping at random when the videos upload. And if you're quick, you might find yourself with a little extra Steam wallet cash in the middle of the summer. Get yourself a sweet new game, especially when you got those sales going on. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I will see you all back soon with some more Total War Warhammer 2 action.